I wanna be the very best. No one ever was. Oh, oops. All right. Welcome to another episode of Mr. MENERA'S Homeschool. All right, so this week in school, we are learning about simplifying fractions. Now, simplifying, whoa, that's a long word. But if you look at the root, right, this word reminds me of the word simple. And guess what? Simplifying means to make more simple, to make something simpler, right? So when we simplify fractions, it's actually pretty easy. For example, let's take this very complicated looking fraction, 7 over 21. If I were going to simplify this fraction, all I have to do is ask myself, is there a number that I can divide both the numerator and the denominator by? So is there a number that I can divide the top and the bottom by? So think. If you said 7, that is correct, right? I can divide the top by 7, and I can divide the bottom by 7. And if I divide the top by 7, I get 1. I divide the bottom by 7, I get 3. Okay? So 7 over 21 is actually equal to 1/3. These are equivalent fractions, except this fraction, 1/3, is simplified, right? It is simpler. And we did so by making the number smaller. Still the same fraction, still represents the same thing. It's just simplified. Okay? So, oops. Now, let me show you. You might be like, whoa, but Mr. Hernandez, those are completely different numbers. That is true. But let's take this rectangle. Yes? This rectangle. If I were to shade this part of it, and I told you, kids, what fraction does this model represent? Hopefully, you would tell me 1/2. And I would be like, awesome, kids, you guys are so smart. Now, 1/2. What happens if I go and I do this? Now, what fraction does that model represent? It actually represents 3/6, right? 3 over 6. As you can see, those two are equivalent fractions, cover the same amount, but one is more complicated looking, and the other one is simplified. So that's what we're doing when we're simplifying fraction. If we look at the model, right, this is still 1/2. Look at it, still 1/2. I still have half of it shaded, but this one's more complicated. So really, here we went the other way. We made it more complicated. But when we're simplifying, we're going from complicated to simple. Okay? So let's do some more examples. If we take this very complicated looking fraction, 6 over 42, to simplify it, once again, I ask myself, is there a number that I can divide the numerator and the denominator by? Think. If you said 6, that is correct. I can divide the top by 6, and I can divide the bottom by 6. If I divide the top by 6, I get 6 divided by 6 is 1. I divide the bottom by 6, I get 42 divided by 6 is 7. So 6 over 42 simplified is just 1/7. Super easy. Okay, now you might be wondering, whoa, why? Why does that work? So let me just show you. You don't really have to know this, but it's just in case you're curious, which is always awesome if you're curious, right? So let's take this complicated looking fraction right here, okay? If I had 10 over 35, right, and I was going to simplify it, if you know your math facts, you can just look at it and you're like, whoa, all right, it's just that number. It's super simple. I divided by that number and doom. Now, if you don't, you could write out the factors of 10 and 35. So if I wrote out the factors of 10 and 35, I would get, to make 10, I can do 5 times 2. To make 35, I can do 5 times 7. Yeah? Because this is equal to this, and this is equal to this. Okay, so 10 over 35 is the same thing as 5 times 2 over 5 times 7. But guess what? I could really rewrite this as 2 sevenths times 1. Whoa, mind blown. Why? Why can I do that? Because if you look right here, 5 over 5, really, it's just 1 whole. So really, this is just saying 1 whole times 2 sevenths, and 1 times anything. It's just itself, right? So 2 sevenths times 1 is just 2 sevenths. That means that 10 over 35 simplified is just 2 sevenths. So that is a very complicated way to do that. That is showing you how and why it works. But again, if you know your math facts, you don't even have to do any of that. You can just ask yourself, what number can I divide 10 and 35 by? This one's pretty simple because by now everybody should know they're multiples of 5s. So I know that these are both multiples of 5s, which means I can divide both by 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 35 divided by 5 is 7. Easy peasy. All right, so now I want you guys to give it a try. I want you to try simplifying these two fractions. So that one. And I want you to also try simplifying this fraction. Give it a try. Let me know what you think the answer is. If you have any questions, comment down below, and I will make sure to answer them in the next episode. Now, once again, thank you for joining. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.